I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's been obviously a crazy morning, but at this time I'm going to turn the press conference over to Illinois State Police Lieutenant Bill Sons.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant William Sons with the Illinois State Police. Currently, the Illinois State Police is investigating an officer-involved shooting. Approximately 3:21 a.m. this morning, Marion police officer, while on routine patrol, noticed that there were dome lights on in 2 cars at the Apple Tree Apartments on 109 Russell Street. 3:26 a.m., the officer, while investigating the dome lights that were on the car, he noticed that one of the vehicles had gloves and ammunition laid out in the vehicle. While investigating that, he heard a female screaming. While investigating those screams, they were identified as coming from 1408 West Main. There's an apartment upstairs there. 3:28 a.m., while investigating the reports of the female screaming that he heard, the officers were fired upon by a suspect. At that point, a hostage situation began. The neighborhood was evacuated, the streets were closed. Marion's ERT, Williamson County Sheriff's Department, and the Illinois State Police responded. The suspect was identified as Joshua A. Green, age 27. At approximately 7:24 a.m., after lengthy negotiations, the suspect exited the apartment with the female that he was holding. At that point, officers ordered Green to surrender. Green refused to surrender at that point. He had a firearm concealed on his person. At that point, Green drew the firearm and fired on officers for a second time, at which point officers returned fire, striking Green. Green was pronounced dead at the scene. A firearm was recovered at the scene. During the exchange of fire, a female that was being held was also struck by gunfire. She was transported to a local hospital and has been flown to a trauma center out of state. At this time, the investigation is ongoing, and we anticipate that the area will be, the streets will be blocked off for an extended period of time while the scene is processed and the investigation continues. That's all we have at this time. Turn it back over to the state's attorney. Any further questions related in the future? Like I said, this information is all preliminary. It's early in the investigation, and additional information will be handled by the state's attorney's office. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add too, thank you, Lieutenant, that the ISP will be handling the investigation from this point on. As Lieutenant Sons said, this is just preliminary information. This is all we can divulge at this time. I do want to thank, though, the Illinois State Police, Marion Police Department, and the Williamson County Sheriff's Office for the absolutely impeccable police work that they did. It's a very touch and go situation, very dangerous, and the police work that all of these agencies did, it's just astounding, and so I want to thank them for that. That is all we have at this time. Thank you. We also do, we do have a color photograph of Mr. Green, if anybody.
Do you have a spelling on his last name?
Absolutely, Green.
And do you have a hometown, or where is he from?
Yeah, Marion.
What about the victim, where she's from and age, anything like that?
We're not releasing that information at this time.
Can you say what the relationship is?
I'm sorry?
Can you say what the relationship is between?
That's still under investigation this time too. We just can't release that. We're not even certain.
We're releasing kind of wound she may have suffered in the crossfire.
That's also preliminary at this time. We just don't have enough information on that.
Does it appear she was struck by police bullets, or was she shot by Mr. Green?
We also do not know that at this time.
Earlier rumors was that she was possibly raped.
I've not heard anything about that at this time.
What about Green's criminal past?
We do have some, we were able to just review. He did have some criminal history. He had a couple of residential burglaries in the past, I believe as more recent as 2011, and he did get sentenced. He was in DOC. I believe he was released in January of this year.
And do you know what would have been with that early release? I mean, it sounds like he was sentenced to 8 years, and obviously he would still be in jail if that was the case.
Right, we don't have that information at this time. We do know that he was on parole at this time. So as far as the actual details of his release in the case there, I'm not sure of that at this time.
How many weapons were recovered? What kind?
We don't know. So there was one recovered on Mr. Green, but as far as any potential other weapons, we don't know that yet at this time. It's still under investigation.
Do you have a rough estimate of how many officers responded, how many were on scene at the time that this happened?
I know there were many. I don't have exactly the number. Between the three agencies questioned, there were several officers there.
Just so I make sure I have this correct, once he exited the house with the woman, did he fire at officers or did he simply just draw his weapon?
You mean the second time
Yes.
he came out, he did draw his weapon and he did open fire.
Were any officers struck?
No, at least not at this time. I believe no officers have been injured.
Did any of them live at the scene where it happened?
We know Mr. Green did not live there. We're not entirely sure about the victim. If that's still under investigation, if that was indeed her residence or not.
Was it Marion police he exchanged fire with, or was it state police?
The initial time, the first time, was Marion Police after they arrived and investigated as Lieutenant Sun said, the dome light in the parking lot behind the apartment complex.
In the initial interaction, did Marion Police return fire on him or not?
No, it's my understanding there's no fire returned at that time.
Do you have any word on the condition of the victim?
We don't. Last we heard was when she was transported to a trauma center.
I just want to make sure I'm wording this straight. So the first time he was inside the house and he tried to shoot at the Marion police, and then the second time he left the house and opened fire again at police. I just want to.
Right, he was going into the complex the first time, when the first time shots were fired. The second time is when he was exiting with the victim.
328, okay.
Thank you all for coming out today. Appreciate it.